In the news this week, the Children's Commissioner for England is to investigate horrendous sexually explicit materials in schools. MPs speak out against a push to legalise assisted suicide. And an employment tribunal has ruled in favour of Maya Forstater, who lost work because of her belief that men cannot become women. Hello. The Children's Commissioner for England is to investigate the use of sexually explicit materials in relationships and sex education lessons. Dame Rachel de Souza told the Education Committee that thoughtful and age-appropriate resources were absolutely critical. She acknowledged that MP Miriam Cates had given the same committee horrendous examples of what had been taught in class. Cates told MPs of a dice game teaching 13-year-olds about explicit sex acts and guidance pushing children to read erotic works and investigate dominance and submission. As Cates told the BBC of her concerns, she warned that the examples were not suitable to be mentioned on air.
What sort of examples can you give our viewers when you talk about things that are age inappropriate, extreme, I presume you mean politically, and sexualising youngsters at too young an age?
Unfortunately, Joe, I can't actually tell you about them because of your broadcast rules. They are not suitable to be read out on your programme. And I think that's the problem, because they are given to young children. And some of them, which I will describe in the debate, because obviously our rules in Parliament are different, describe quite extreme sexual acts and adult sexual concerns to really quite young children. And yes, some of them are extreme politically, but they're also extreme sexually. And I think we have to question the wisdom of sexualising quite young children and moving away from the facts and the basics of sex and reproduction.
A number of MPs have spoken out against legalising assisted suicide during a debate in Westminster Hall. They were responding to a petition calling for the law to be changed to allow doctors to help people deemed terminally ill to kill themselves. While some MPs supported the removal of safeguards, others objected, highlighting how the current law protects and cares for people.
I think we would impose an awful moral dilemma on every conscientious, frail elderly person nearing the end of their life. We've probably all known a number of such people. They've got a lot of anxieties at that stage of their life, and they worry very much about being a burden to their children, needing care from them, and also consuming resources which their children would otherwise inherit. If ending their life early was legally permissible, many who don't want to end their lives would feel under very great, probably irresistible pressure to do so, and there just is no way out of that happening.
Over half the people in other countries where assisted dying is legal choose it because they feel they are a burden to their families. Tragically, a lot also say that they are lonely. Isn't this terrible? People getting the state to help to kill them because they don't want to be a burden on a family that never visits them. Talk to any hospice manager about relatives and they will quietly confirm it. There are a lot of people who want granny or grandpa to hurry up and die.
Exclusively Christian RE lessons in Northern Irish primary schools have been ruled unlawful. Currently, education provisions mean daily worship and RE must focus on Christianity. But a legal challenge was launched by a girl and her father, who claimed the curriculum does not provide for pluralistic teaching. The Department of Education argued that parents can take their children out of lessons and assemblies, and that there is scope for teaching on other religions. However, Mr. Justice Colton ruled the provisions breached the family's human rights. It is no answer that the core curriculum is a minimum requirement if it has the effect of failing to provide religious education in an objective, critical and pluralist manner. The Christian Institute's director, Colin Hart, called it a surprising ruling. The law protects human rights, it doesn't set them aside. The judge seems to have completely dismissed the crucial right of withdrawal available to all parents. We will look closely at the judgment. It is not yet known whether it will be appealed, but we certainly hope it will be. And finally, a tribunal has found that an employer unfairly treated women's rights campaigner Maya Forstater on the basis of her belief that men cannot become women. Judge Andrew Glennie ruled Maya Forstater had been subject to both direct discrimination and victimisation by the Centre for Global Development for defending the reality of biological sex. Forstater welcomed the decision. My case matters for everyone who believes in the importance of truth and free speech. Human beings cannot change sex. It is not hateful to say that. Later, she spoke to BBC Radio 4 about the significance of the ruling.
One really important thing is that it created a precedent that people shouldn't be discriminated at work for expressing perfectly ordinary beliefs about sex and gender. And that means, teachers, doctors, social workers, people whose decisions affect other people's safety and, fairness in sport, all those kinds of areas. People are going to be able to speak honestly and truthfully, and that protects everyone's rights, women's rights and trans people.
Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all of our stories plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.